After you get everything all combed out where you're able to actually get your comb all the way through, that's when you're then able to do any sort of trimming or grooming on their bodies. A blade or scissors aren't going to go through a tangled or matted coat unless they go under it. And that's a lot of times why, if the body is matted and we're talking to the customer, we say, you know, I'm sorry, your dog's going to have to go short today. That's because a blade does not go through tangles. A blade will either go under them or it'll skim over them. And so you have to make sure that your dog is completely brushed out, combed out, ready to go before you would do any type of scissoring, clippering, that kind of thing. The other really nice thing about doing, if you're at home, doing a weekly brushing or combing, or more often than that even, but a lot of times you're busy. But if you focus on a weekly brush out, weekly comb out, then you're able to see down to the skin a little bit more. You're able to see what's going on way down in there. So if there's a spot where, you know, if I've all of a sudden noticed Strut has been licking at a spot on him, I'm able to take my comb, and right now I could look at it and be like, oh, I don't really see anything. But if you take your comb, you're able to sort of spread the hair apart and see right down to the skin. And so that's something that makes it really nice to have that connection with your dog, where once a week you're working on your dog, you're paying sole attention to your pet to really examine his skin, examine his ears, and see how things are going with the skin and the coat. So that's really nice to be able to look. I can also explain, Strut doesn't shed. That's not to say all poodles don't, but he doesn't. But some dogs, you get into a shedding season. So when you get your dog and you're noticing that he tends to be shedding a lot, this is most typical in your labs, your Goldens. Springers will shed. There's quite a few, your Australian Shepherds, the ones that have undercoats. All of a sudden you'll notice that either you pet them and you get a bunch of hair in your hand, or you're noticing little dust bunnies all around your house. That's the time when brushing them at home definitely helps a lot. There's various tools you can use as far as de-shedding tools. There's different ones that we prefer on different coats. So that, as far as recommending an exact tool, is sometimes hard because it varies based on your coat. Most groomers will recommend brushes though to you, no problem. You could call us, bring your dog in, we could see the coat and tell you what brushes to use at home. During the time though when they're really shedding, your best bet, bring them in, get them a bath. Our blow dryer is going to get way down deep into the coat. It's going to just we call it like a hair explosion. You start blow drying them and the hair just explodes everywhere into the air, into this whole room is full of hair. And that's really going to help more than you could spend 3 hours brushing your dog, and it's not going to make the same difference as a blow dryer will. And so that really, again, it's going to be based on your dog. Right now we're seeing dogs where it's only February, dogs have blown their entire coat already, which means that all of their undercoat has come out, and we're able to get it all out with the blow dryer and with the bath. We have different de-shedding packages, different things that we do to help, you know, get more of that coat out. So really the season doesn't really make a difference. We see some dogs shed year round. I have a husky who he hates getting a bath, absolutely hates it. And so to lessen his anxiety quite a bit, I will blow him out with our blow dryer once a month, where I just blow dry him. He's dry. It's not that he got a bath. It just blows all that hair out. And then usually I only wash him a couple times a year because he doesn't get dirty. He doesn't, you know, it's not necessarily a dirt thing. It's more of a hair thing. Other dogs need a bath every single month, you know, in order to keep their shedding down. So that's something that a dog groomer that you know and trust would be able to recommend to you exactly how often you should bring your dog in and steer you in the right direction. If your dog seems to not mind the bath and, you know, everything goes great and it works great at your house, where then you don't have the excess hair, that's really nice to bring him in once a month. Other dogs where we would be like, you know, he really has a lot of anxiety with his bath. we would recommend different things to you. Same with my husky, where instead I would just blow them out or just bring them in once a month and we'd brush them out. Most groomers are real flexible in what kind of packages they'll do. You don't have to do the whole shebang, the bath, the nails, the ears, the brush out, the blow dry, everything. We can do things in stages if that's best for your dog, best for your time, you know. Really just depends, and that's something where you just would want to call your groomer and find out exactly what kind of schedule they would recommend. The thing with getting any dog, even low maintenance dogs, people will get pugs, Jack Russells, dogs that have very short coats, and yet those dogs shed a lot. They don't always know that. They shed a lot, their nails still grow, their ears can still get dirty, and then you get into dogs like poodles, even the smaller poodles that aren't, you know, quite as much work as he would be, Shih Tzus, small Yorkies, Malteses, those kind of things. You're getting into a lot of responsibility as far as the upkeep on your dog. But that doesn't mean that you have to do it. It doesn't mean if you're thinking to yourself, well, there's no way I can brush my dog once a week. That's okay. A lot of owners don't. But then you would want to maybe visit your groomer a little bit more often. And so that's why having a groomer that you trust really helps relieve some of that time constraints that you have, where you don't have time to necessarily make sure the tops of his feet are always brushed out and that his, you know, pads are trimmed. Bring them into your groomer, and that will eliminate a lot of that stress. Keeping them in short clips definitely helps eliminate a lot of that stress. I'm not saying you have to buzz them right down to their nothings, but you definitely would want to keep them maybe a little bit shorter. Let's say you say to yourself, well, I really can't bring my dog in once a month to be brushed out and to be, you know, cleaned up. And yet at the same time, I don't mind a short look. Bring them in every 3 months even, you know, and as long as you're getting them in, we take them down nice and short, that'll last you a little bit longer. Some owners say, I got no problem getting the dog into the groomer once a month. I have no problem combing them out every day. Those are the owners that like their dog to be fluffy. They like their dog to always have, you know, 3 or 4 inches of hair. And then that is practical for them. Not everything is practical for every owner. You get into, you know, your labs where the owners, especially during the summer, wash their dogs at home with their hose or whatnot. And that's fine. I mean, there's no problem with that. But they still should come in, get their nails trimmed, make sure that their ears are clean, or at least maybe come in, learn how to do those things yourself. Toenails are nice to have done at a groomer because then you are able to have them hooked up. You know, we do it really quick, works really easy, as opposed to at home. We hear all the time, oh my gosh, I had to have my husband, my sister, and my brother all wrestle in our lab, and even then we couldn't get the nails done. And to that, you know, they come in here, and the dog's perfectly fine. Well, we have the dog hooked up, you know, one person comes and does it. The dog's out of his own element, so he's not in charge, and he just lets us do it. That's a lot less stress for the dog. Think of if you had to have something done and you had to have 4 people wrestling you down to do it, you're not going to like it very much. You're going to be a little anxiety about it. You're going to be a little stressed out. So that's why, you know, things like that are nice. But the other thing too is if you're washing your dog at home, or we hear a lot of times, oh, my dog goes in the lake all the time. And that's fine too. You just want to be aware of your dog's skin. You want to be aware of whether or not he's itching. If you say, oh yeah, well, my dog's in the lake, you know, 3 times a week and he stays clean and we don't, you know, he smells sort of like fish, but we don't mind. That's fine until he maybe starts itching, or he's licking really bad in one spot, or you're noticing really bad dry skin. Those kind of things, then you'd want to have addressed by a professional. As a groomer, we would be able to be your first step to kind of see what we think the issues are. We can then recommend to you various things to do to help relieve those problems, which may end up saying, you know, oh, I would recommend he sees a vet. And so that's always really nice to have that option there if you're noticing any sort of issues with your pet.